everybody. Welcome once again to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You're listening to episode 3 for the week of November 18th, 2018. And I am your host, Drew. And I am joined by the one, the only, the magical vegetarian, Will.
Drew, what's going on, man?
Oh, man, how many times do we do this intro?
Oh, my gosh. I don't know, like at least, 3-4 times?
3, 4, 5 times. I must have started and stopped a bunch, and it's like, I kind of say the same thing more or less each time we record, but then there's this part of me that just has this burning desire to be clever, and sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Yep, and it just ends up with hysterical laughter.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm great, man. I've got a beer in hand. It's a Saturday evening. It's not that late. Good day at work. What about you?
About the same. I've been really just putting my nose to the ground and trying to get as much homework done as possible lately. Towards the end of the semester, and unfortunately, Thanksgiving is kind of like it's like the demarcation point, I suppose, because once Thanksgiving is over, the shit hits the fan, and I am doing as much as I can right now to prepare for that, because I'm going to have basically a week and a half of classes left, and I have a bunch of projects that are due. Not a lot of tests, thankfully, but I have my one and only project for my TV class is due the day after, or the class after Thanksgiving.
Oof.
Yeah, I got a lot of work to do. So I've been editing video for the past two days straight. I'm tired, bro, but we got a great show planned, and we have so much to talk about, and I'm super stoked about it.
We do, man, and I'm glad that you're kind of catching up on things, because it's such a unique time of the year where I kind of consider it like the quiet before the storm of, Black Friday and, like you said, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and now it's like crunch time. It's crunch time to kind of just get shit done. Right,
and I know you're probably feeling that crunch too, with Black Friday almost here in your industry and everything. The shit really does hit the fan for you guys.
100%. But we're ready.
We are
ready and waiting.
And the best way to be ready is to download this podcast. And there's a bunch of new ways you could do so. How'd you like that segue?
Oh my gosh, yeah, we're so excited. We're live on so many platforms now.
That's right. So if you've been listening to us on just a regular web browser up to this point, go over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you use Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, check those out. Just do a search for us, Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. We're there. You can subscribe, and as soon as a new episode comes in, it'll just download automatically to your device of your choosing. Or if you're not using any of those apps, I use a program called Beyond Pod, and I just go in and I search for it, and bam, there it is. It works great.
Yeah, we're excited. We're definitely excited, and I've been dabbling around with some social media for everybody, and
Will, could you tell us about that social media, please?
100%. Yeah. So we're on Facebook. You can find us at WDGRPodcast, which is pretty much our main handle for everything at this point. That is including Instagram and Twitter. So it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the same handle. Give us a follow, and you'll be able to stay up to date with when we're recording, pictures, news, all kinds of stuff. We're going to be asking, fans about what kind of questions they have about the show and what they're playing and things like that. And we're definitely going to be talking about some of that stuff on today's episode.
Yeah, we actually threw out a couple questions to our followers on Facebook today, and we'll be diving into those answers a little bit later. We've got some great responses from everybody, so thank you if you took the time to respond. But
yes, thank you.
We got to start every episode with our normal question. What are you playing?
Well, I think to most that have been tuning in to the first couple episodes, I'm still playing Red Dead Redemption 2. It's been getting a lot better. I know the first couple episodes I talked about certain aspects of the game that kind of draw you in, and some of the open world sort of boredom that kind of sets in sometimes. But now, after playing a couple more missions, I'm 100% invested. And I can really get behind the hype, I think 100% at this point.
So how much time have you put in it since we last spoke?
I still don't know the actual, hour time at this point, or I guess the minute ratio or whatever you want to call it. But I think that
I want a detailed graph, please.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been playing for 5 hours, 20 minutes, and 4 seconds and counting. No, I would say probably, I don't know, maybe like 6 to 10 hours, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Maybe more, maybe less. I mean, it's hard to tell, but
But I mean, I think that's a good point to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of a game.
yes, yeah. And, I think I'm past that point now where the beginning was kind of a slow start,
Yeah.
and I'm in the open world now fully,
Uh-huh.
and I can now experience, what it's like to just kind of roam, do a random mission, hang out at camp. Uh, Again, there's still so much to do, but I did a couple missions that really kind of pulled me in, and there have just been some moments that are just really, really special. And I know at either today's episode or like the next one, we're planning on talking about some of the details that are often overlooked in games, and I think that this game is full of those kind of details.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you were describing to me like, when the guy starts scratching his ass while he's sitting on the horse, sometimes
Yeah,
it's the left cheek, sometimes it's the right cheek.
yeah. Call me easily impressed, but I love that kind of stuff.
Well, it makes a huge difference, I think, in the immersion factor because nothing takes you out of something more quickly than seeing the same animation over and over again.
Hmm.
So
I love that kind of stuff. I really
well,
do.
it's like the deja vu effect in the Matrix.
Sure.
So
If anybody has not seen that movie, please do yourself a favor and just Netflix it, buy it, just watch it.
yeah, that's one of the best films, maybe ever.
Oh, so good.
Not the sequels, but the original.
Yeah, stick with the first for now.
Anything else on the horizon as far as your playtime goes?
Yeah, I definitely want to get back into Bayonetta 2, and it's funny how I've been kind of, like my interest in that game has peaked again, and it's funny because I have a really weird history with that game where I bought a Wii U specifically for that game,
Mm-hmm.
and I played about maybe an hour, and I was like, all right, this is phenomenal, but I just don't have time for this, so I'm going to put it down. Sold the Wii U, got rid of the game for whatever reason at the time, got the Wii U again, got the game again, and did the same thing. I played like maybe 3-4 hours this time. I got a little bit further, and I'm like, man, this game is masterful. Like, this is exactly what I wanted in this game. It's better than the first, and I don't know what happened. I think I just like I either traded in the game again for some stupid reason, and now I have it for the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on Twitter, as some of you guys might know, and I saw
How can I find you
somebody.
on Twitter?
It's Will_Gear.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of scrolling through my feed, and I saw somebody had retweeted a tweet from Lady Gaga, who I'm actually kind of a fan of just as a person. I think she's really interesting. And I guess she plays video games, and she was talking about Bayonetta 2,
Mm-hmm.
and she actually quoted like something that's from the game, like kind of when you beat missions, there's like this voice that says, "The shadow remains tough." And like that was in the tweet, and I was like, man, I missed this game and I need to play it still. So I think that just that tweet alone, as kind of random as it was, it's piqued my interest in playing this game again. And I like I said, I bought it for the Switch. I haven't even played it yet, and it's definitely something that I'm going to probably start up again as kind of like a side game, along with RDR2.
Well, one of the best things about the Switch is the portability of it. So you can be lying in bed and getting a few rounds of whatever in, or putting in 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, a lot easier than you can on the PlayStation 4.
Yes, and it's funny because the Wii U allows you to do that as well. However, you have to be in like a 30-40 foot radius or whatever to actually have it connect properly. So with the Switch, you don't have to do that.
Right. I mean, I gotta get my hands on one of those still.
Oh, you don't have one yet?
I don't have a Switch now, or a Wii U for that matter. But
yeah, focus on the Switch. I think it's a good system. I have my qualms with it, but I think for what it is and some of the games on there, it's great.
So let me ask you a little bit about Bayonetta, because I've never had an opportunity to play it, but it's something that's always interested me. Like, what kind of game is it?
Oh my God, it's so fucking weird, man. Like it's such a strange game. Like So it's developed by Platinum Games, which has done, I mean, they basically specialize in action games, very fast-paced games like Vanquish.
Okay.
A lot of obscure games that a lot of people don't know about. They actually developed Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which was a
Hmm.
really fun game. I think a lot more people are probably more in tune with what that game is.
Okay.
And Bayonetta came out for the PS3, the Xbox 360, I want to say like 2011, 2012, somewhere around there.
Hmm.
And somebody told me about it. I thought it looked just like really a little bit too bizarre for me, but I tried it, and it's a really fun game. And it's basically just an action sort of beat 'em up, and you play as this witch who allows or her hair basically turns into like a costume. It's so fucking weird.
Yeah, it
But
sounds just completely bizarre.
it is. It's very Japanese. It's very like sexual.
Uh-huh.
Bayonetta, the character herself, is just very like kind of sexy and sexual with like her moves and like the way she carries herself, and
Hmm.
it's just. But like, without going into a lot of detail, it's just a really fun action game, and a lot of it is button mashing. A lot of it is, like those sequences where it tells you to hit Y like repeatedly,
Hmm.
but it's extremely difficult. It's very rewarding. They have a system called Witch Time, which allows you to kind of slow down time and really kind of get a lot of hits in with bosses or enemies.
Yeah.
But I recommend it to anybody who just likes tight visuals, good gameplay, solid controls, and just overall like a very fluid action game. I would say Platinum Games they are masters at what they do.
I know that one of the Bayonetta games came out as a Games with Gold at some point. I think it
Hmm.
was the first one. So
Yes,
I have a copy of it on my 360 and my Xbox One. I can play, it's backwards compatible. And I've been wanting to dive into it, and I don't know what to expect, so I've been a little afraid. you know, you know
it,
what I mean?
it's it's so good, man. Like as
Yeah,
weird as it is, the beginning without kind of spoiling anything, it really throws you right into the action. So
yeah.
it's one of those games that you don't get bored of it. It's just you need to be up for the challenge and expect a sweaty controller after like a few hours of play.
And I'm looking at the lineup of games that Platinum has put out too, and it's pretty impressive. They did Near Automata too, which got really good reviews.
They did.
That's another one that I've always wanted to check out and just never got around to.
Very good. I actually own that game and I've played about maybe 3, 4 hours. And again, I have this complex where I start a game and I'm like, I love this.
Mhm.
And it's almost as though I don't want to play it because I want to cherish it. Does that make sense?
I get it, yeah, but that definitely that's not the right attitude.
No, it's not. It's not. It's like that's why.
That's how games just sit on your shelf, collecting dust.
Oh, if anything, it's just contributing to like the
Yeah.
problem that we have as adult gamers. Like
Mhm.
these horrible, massive backlogs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so earlier this week, I came home from class. It was pretty late, and I was just like, I feel like playing a game, but I don't know what to play.
Hmm.
Fired up my Xbox, and I started going through the list of games that I had, and there's a lot of games with golds that I've downloaded. But just anytime I see free game, I hit the download button. I don't look back,
Yeah.
and I have amassed a sizable digital collection
Oh
of
my
games
God.
that I've never even launched.
Daunting.
So I remember a friend of mine talking about a game called Slime Rancher on Facebook.
I've seen
And
you playing that.
yeah, I decided to give it a shot and fire it up, and it is weird and relaxing and very very soothing. You basically are breeding slimes. I don't know how else to put it. It's kind of like a farming simulation kind of thing.
Hmm.
You have like all these different pens, and you have to go and you catch these slimes using a vacuum. So there's a little bit of Luigi's Mansion mixed in there, and or like the gravity gun in Half Life, if you want to be a little bit more angsty with your game references.
Sucking
And
up slimes with a Dyson.
basically, yes, that's exactly what you're doing. And some of them have different perks, right? So you can take these slimes and you capture them, you throw them in a pen, and then you have to feed them. And as they eat, they poop. Their poop is the currency.
Well then.
They call them plorps, okay? Or plort. Plort. Yes, plort.
Charming.
So your standard slime is a pink slime, and when you feed the pink slime, he'll eat anything. He'll eat chickens, he'll eat fruits, he'll eat vegetables, it doesn't matter. When he eats, he puts out a pink plort, and that's like the common currency. You suck that up with your vacuum, you go cash it in. And then there's other variations of slimes as well, too. One of them glows in the dark, so those only come out at night. There's another one that's kind of like a rock, so he rolls around and he bumps into you and he'll hurt you. Well, slimes can eat the poop of other slimes and evolve.
Touche. I'm kind of speechless, Drew. I'm still trying to understand this kind of poop process.
That's why when we spoke about this earlier this week, I was hesitant to tell you, because I wanted to get a real-time reaction to this.
Well, I tell you what, man, I feel like we might have a name for this episode, and it might be Sucking Up Slimes with a Dyson.
I think that's a oh, goodness, yeah. I think
it's got a good ring to it.
It really does. So
slimes with an expensive, $600 vacuum.
Yeah.
You got to have a payment plan to afford this fucking thing.
So here's the crazy thing, right? If an evolved slime eats the poop of another slime that's not one of the two that it originally came from, it turns into like this, what the hell do they call it? It turns into like another creature, and it looks like tar, and it goes around like just slaughtering everything.
Jeez.
Yeah. Super dark.
Yeah, I don't even, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what can I kind of relate this to? What can I compare this to? I've got nothing.
Yeah. But it's a very grindy game. You're constantly looking to improve your farm, expand into areas where you get your hands on more space to create these pens, to breed these slimes, to grow different types of vegetation, or to breed chickens to feed to the slimes. So it's this constant cycle of, do X to do Y to make X better, so Y is better. You know what I mean?
It's funny, when I saw you playing it on Discord, I just thought, here's this sack of shit playing some stupid mobile game.
No.
Probably a free version of it.
No, it's on the Xbox, and I gotta say, if you have a copy of it there and you've just been ignoring it, you're looking for something to just kind of unwind with. It's surprisingly deep, but it's still very chill. And
I'll keep this in mind.
That's the part that I like the most, is I could just kind of kick back and just relax.
And we need that as gamers. We need that kind of reso gun kind of game that you can just fall back on, and Doritos Crash Course kind of game. I used to love that game.
Oh yeah, that was fun. That was
you remember that?
Fun. That had no right being as fun as it was.
Oh my god! You're just running around as your avatar, just going through this, American Ninja Warrior type course.
Yeah.
And it's 1:00 in the morning. You just got done with a couple sessions of Black Ops, and you're just you know what? Let me get my buddies in here, and we'll just fuck around for 20 minutes, and go to bed.
Yeah.
It was a great game.
It really was. It hit that very, very specific market very well. And it was free, so.
Yeah. People love free, man.
The other thing that I've been playing, I just picked this up Friday, is Tetris Effect.
Oh, man. Let's hear about this. Let's do a deep dive.
So, this game really came out of nowhere for me. I really did not have an opportunity to pay much attention during E3 this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had no idea that this was happening. And basically, for anybody that isn't already familiar with the game, Tetris Effect is made by the same person who is responsible for Lumines. Or is it Lumines or Lumines? Or
I have no idea, man.
I've always pronounced it Lumines, but I've heard other people call it Lumines. Tetsuya Mizuguchi is the name. And
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one. He also did Rez. for the Dreamcast, which is a fantastic game. Space Channel 5, Child of Eden, I heard good things about. Space Channel 5 is so quirky and fun and delightful. But any case, this developer is obsessed with making an immersive experience that combines video games and music.
Okay.
Everything that he has done heads in that direction of marrying music and games.
I like it.
So Lumines was a very interesting game because the entire pace of the game is dictated by the soundtrack. And as you progress through the game and you do better, the music changes. Sometimes it slows down. Sometimes it picks up. Depends on the stage that you're in. And it's just kind of like this harmony between trance and puzzle solving kind of thing. You know, you're constantly just in this zone looking for the next highest score, and you're just kind of feeling the music, and there's a lot of lights and a lot of colors happening. And Tetris Effect takes this and puts it in a 4K screen with a puzzle game that everybody knows how to play, and just fucking blows the doors wide open.
God, I love those kind of games, man. I feel like a lot of those things like Super Stardust HD and a lot of games like that, Geometry Wars, they're always in like the best resolution, and they always have like the best music, and they're perfect for like a warm up to like a heavy game or even kind of like your nightcap.
See, here's the thing, because the game actually has like a campaign of sorts, and as you're going through the campaign, they tend to group levels in groups of 3 or in 5. So you finish the first level, and it's one song, and you have to get 36 lines completed before it moves up to the next one. And then you go through this like warp speed kind of thing, and then you go to the next stage, and the song is different, and the background is different. Everything is different, right? And then you go to the third one, the same thing happens.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit roughly around level 25, the tempo of the song that you're in, or line 25, excuse me, the tempo of the song that you're in changes and usually goes into overdrive. So you could be playing this really chill thing, and you're going at your own pace. You're doing great, just sitting back, relaxing, and they're coming down at a speed of like 2 or 3. And then all of a sudden you hit like line 25. And now you're playing at speed 9. And there's no warning. Like it took me a number of failures to realize that this is happening consistently at number 25.
Now, Drew, I haven't played Tetris in years. Like when you're talking speeds here, can you kind of explain to me and the audience like what this kind of translates to?
So a speed of like 1 is the speed at which the tetraminos, how do they pronounce it? The pieces.
The fucking pieces. Okay.
There's an actual name for them, but I can't pronounce it.
So is that your standard pace?
That's like your standard pace, right?
Is 1.
Yes. 9 is like you barely have a chance to move them across the screen left or right.
Okay. Psycho mode.
Yeah, and 10 would be the highest.
Pro mode.
There are people that are highly competitive at a speed of 10.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Highly competitive. I am not one of those people.
Oh, it's amazing to witness.
Yeah, it really is. And actually, there a lot of the reviews for this game are comparing it to some of the highly competitive versions of Tetris, because I actually spent some time watching Digital Foundry's Tetris retrospective, which was brought up to date in lieu of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy goes all the way back to the original and talks about what made each one unique. And I had no idea that Tetris has evolved as much as it has since the original version. It's really magnificent. You know, it's a very simple game, and there's so much that has changed in it that changes the complexity and the gameplay of the game that I just didn't even realize happened.
Sure. It's been years since the Game Boy.
This game is just absolutely jaw-dropping. I mean, I don't even know how to put it. Like you're playing with all these just gorgeous colors, and the controller is vibrating in time with the music, and it's not like a little vibration. Like this thing is full blast hammering with the downbeats.
Oh, I'm such a sucker for that stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, he went all out with every little detail. Now, I will say that some of the music gets a little annoying, especially after you've struggled to play the stage 5 times. And some of the sound effects are equally annoying as well, too. And this is the kind of thing that took me away from Luminous, because it's not just drum and bass or EDM or techno or whatever you want to call it. There's also a lot of worldly sounds. Like there's this one stage where you're playing and it's supposed to be like a sea theme, and there's these dolphins, these particles shaped like dolphins swimming around, right? And it's this gorgeous light show with these bright blues and sparkly whites and everything.
Like an acid trip.
It really is. You know, like I don't do drugs, and I felt like I was tripping, right?
Yeah.
So as I'm clearing lines, the dolphins start chirping at you. Except it doesn't sound like a chirp. It actually sounds like an alien.
Cool, man.
So Nikki is sitting next to me, and she's like, "I don't like this." I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "The sounds are just creepy as shit." And
kind of like bugging her out.
It is, and if you hear it, you'll understand. Like if you heard it out of context with the rest of what's happening, it sounds like fucking Velociraptor going, or whatever that noise it was making.
Yeah,
it just doesn't sound calming and peaceful like it was intended.
Huh.
So I would have to deduct a couple points for the sounds in the game.
Fair.
But I believe overall, if you're a Tetris fan or a puzzle game fan like I am, this is a must buy. And okay. it has VR support, which I don't have the VR headset, but
you probably kind of want to buy one now.
Well, I was talking with our friend Vic about it yesterday, and he mentioned that, that's allegedly the best way to play it. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm sitting in front of a 65-inch TV, and I can barely see what's happening to the left and right of me. Do I really need a VR headset?
Yeah, it might be overkill. I mean, who knows? I really have no experience with VR.
I've only done a little bit of it, and it's a lot of fun. It's very immersive, because your peripheral vision is absorbed by everything that's happening too.
Well, the first time that I heard about this game was on the Giant Bomb podcast, and they were talking about how, one of the guys he said that he had like this Phoenix Down moment where he just kind of realized that each Tetris piece, and I know that we haven't figured out what that's called yet, but each piece is 4 blocks, and I never thought about it that way. Like every piece is 4 blocks. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I guess it's just something that like some people overlooked, including myself.
I can see how that could happen.
Because you're not really like counting the block pieces. You're just looking at the pieces and thinking, okay, where do I fit this thing, and how quickly can I get it to fit properly? Yeah,
and I think in some variations of Tetris, they have not always stuck with that philosophy either. There are some variants that have 3 block pieces or 5 block pieces. So it's not always consistent, but most of the like the official games will leave it at 4 blocks.
Yeah. So I guess those are like the spin-off Tetris games.
In some cases. Yeah. There have been some, first party, but original Tetris games that have been. I guess the Tetromino. I don't fucking know.
Oh my god. You're just digging this hole deeper, man.
Well, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page because this is a legit term. It has nothing to do with Tetris. And it's based on 4 blocks.
Okay. So who like developed this game? Who made this game? Wasn't it like a German company, or am I just making things up here?
The new one, Tetris Effect?
No, just like the original, like who came up with Tetris?
It's Russian.
Oh, it's Russian. Okay. German, Russian, same fucking thing.
No.
Far from it, friends. Far from it.
Alexei Paginov?
Of course his name was Alexei.
Yeah, and Vladimir Pokilko.
That's such a badass name.
Stop making me pronounce names I can't pronounce.
Just call him Vlad.
Vlad and Alexei.
Yeah.
So we
characters from GoldenEye.
Oh, God. We did throw out onto Facebook asking you guys what you're playing. Majid says he's playing Red Dead Redemption, fighting random strangers. Quote, I may have a problem. Dave is playing The Last of Us. He says, going through The Last of Us again. I love the atmosphere, the character relationships, and the incredible writing and voice acting. That is a game that I started and never had an opportunity to finish.
Likewise.
I'd love to go back and play that again. Let's see here. Brad Majors is also playing Red Dead Redemption, and he's blaming me for Star Trek Timelines, which is that shitty mobile game that we were talking about.
Slime Rancher.
No, that's a fun game, but that's a podcast for another podcast. Let's see here. Chris is playing through Suikoden. Thank you. I am having so much trouble today. He says, I love the number of playable characters. Each time you play through, you could choose to master a different group of characters. Though, of course, having 108 playable characters, they don't all have amazing backstory. That game is on my bucket list. Is that on the classic?
I don't. You mean like the new mini?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember if Suikoden is on there.
Maybe.
I don't remember. Why is this not on their official page? And I'm looking. Oh, it's Wild Arms. No Suikoden.
I don't know much about Suikoden. I just know how to say the name.
Well, you're doing great.
The whole time I was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be ready to say this name. I've been rehearsing it the whole time. I was like, Drew's gonna butcher it. I'll be here to save the day.
And you did. I'd still be trying to figure it out if you weren't here. Oh, goodness. So let's dive in. We got two topics here that we want to go over today, and I think we'll start out with the more confusing one. Sony has announced they are not attending E3 2019.
You know, I feel like this is it's a tough pill to swallow, man. I mean, I think you and a lot of our friends are Xbox guys, but regardless of that, Sony has always brought a lot to the table when it comes to E3, and they've always kind of not necessarily won the show, I think, all the time, but I think a lot of the times they've always brought a lot of blockbuster-looking games and a lot of promising titles to the show. And I think that, you know, looking at this and hearing about it with as little as I know, it's disappointing. It's definitely disappointing because, I mean, look, whether you're an Xbox guy or you're a fanboy of whatever, the PS4 is a powerhouse of a system, and they have great first-party games that are exclusive to that system. And I think that with them not being there at such a big show, it's definitely disappointing.
This is the first time that Sony is not going to have a presence at E3 in the 24-year history of the event.
I didn't know that stat.
Yeah. This is the first time that they're not bringing a PlayStation in some form or fashion to E3. I guess E3 has only been around for 24 years.
Only.
And Sony's been there for all of them.
Gosh, but, I mean, is there a reason why? Do we know?
Well, there's a lot of speculation. You know, there seem to be some hints that Sony's looking at releasing a PlayStation 5 sometime in 2020. So, by them skipping E3 2019, it could indicate that, you know, perhaps they have their own reveal planned, or they just don't have anything to show aside from some games, and maybe they feel, you know, that's not enough. It's kind of strange because I always felt like E3 was a good opportunity for each company to kind of push the industry forward. And I don't just mean by their own contributions, but by pushing everybody else in the process too. So like if Sony came out with something revolutionary, Xbox would, or Microsoft rather, would have to step up to the plate. And you know, when Nintendo comes out with something revolutionary, everybody has to step up to the plate. You know, it's not just about trying to be the most profitable. It's about trying to be the best and try to push the industry in a progressing fashion. And by them not having a presence, now that just leaves Microsoft and Nintendo out of the big three. And
Yeah,
they're both occupying two completely different ends of the spectrum.
Mhm.
I don't consider, even though the Switch is very much a competitor to the Xbox, they're completely different systems in so many different ways, and I feel like the audiences are just not even close to being the same,
Yeah, it's
with exceptions.
yeah. And maybe kind of what you said earlier in terms of like maybe they have something else planned or they're talking about this new system. Maybe they're so confident with what they have up their sleeve that they're just like, you know what, fuck it. We're not going to show up this year. We're going to stick with what we talked about last E3 and they had some amazing games like
Mhm.
oh my God, Ghost of Tsushima is just going to be incredible. It's that like kind of samurai game. I don't know if you saw that, Drew, but
Yes, yeah.
oh my God, it was the best looking game I've ever seen in my life. But maybe that, along with like the new system in the works and whatever else they might have, they're like, we don't need to be here. Let's just keep doing our thing. We'll launch some stuff. We'll come out with our own thing. We'll show up at Gamescom in Germany. We'll do some other things, and maybe they've cultivated enough of a fan base at this point where they know that their fans like maybe won't care. I don't know, man. It's just it's unusual.
It also makes me wonder if maybe the pressure about being this powerhouse at E3 has kind of gotten to them too, because it seems like when E3 comes around, everybody automatically expects these companies to have these jaw-dropping announcements, and it's like, at what point do you start getting diminishing returns?
Yeah. I mean, because they do the thing every year, right? And I feel like there's a lot of people that you and I have encountered that are like, oh my God, like, where's the new system? Where is this? Where is that? And it's like, well, don't expect, like you said, like, don't expect some huge announcement every year. Like,
Right.
sometimes like they're busy working on games and they're going to give you a new trailer. They might give you a couple new games they're working on, but I don't know. I think sometimes we have to kind of take what they have and kind of just be content with that because a lot of these games take a long time to develop, including the consoles.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, um,
Maybe we're just growing too impatient. I mean, some of us are at least.
well, I think there's definitely something to that. We're living in a society with instant gratification.
Hmm.
You go on Facebook, you make a post, you get a like immediately.
Yeah.
You want your news, you type it into Google, bam, it's there. You don't have to wait for anything.
Yeah. It's like
S-
instant, 1 minute oatmeal, man.
Exactly. So I'm kind of curious to see where this lands. I'm a little disappointed that they're not going to be at E3, but I feel like there's got to be a reason. So
Yeah.
maybe they have something big planned. And if they do drop PlayStation 5, what would you like to see out of that?
Oh gosh. What a tough question, man. I mean, I think that everybody has their remakes that they want to see. Everybody has their sequels that they want to see. And I think I don't know, man. It's so hard to say because I think the PS4 is only kind of now showing some of its true potential with games like RDR2 and some of these kind of newer titles that are just really
Yeah,
showcasing the system and the performance. And I just feel like even though the system came out in what, like 2013, I think, it's just we're not seeing its true potential. I think it has a few more years left. And
yeah.
it's just hard to imagine the next system at this point for me.
PlayStation 4 came out in 2013, and I'm pretty sure the Xbox came out in the same year too.
Damn, I'm good with my
Xbox
dates.
One. Yeah. Um, but I agree. Like, and they just put out the Pro. What, last year was it?
Hmm. I think so, yeah.
I just don't feel like they've really pulled everything out of it. Now I know that there's always a layover in between the two consoles where you have developers producing the same game for two consoles at once, or there's games that are still in development for the 4 before the companies move on to only developing for the 5 or whatever the case is. So even if they do announce and release a PlayStation 5 in 2020, um, there's still going to be a few more years of the PlayStation 4. But I feel like when the announcement is made, that's like you're putting the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, because people immediately just, think of, okay, I got to pre-order this thing. I got
Right.
to sell my PS4. I got to finish the games I have. And it's like, really though?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm still enjoying what we have, and I'm excited to see some new games.
Yeah,
And I really just don't think that we have to rush a new system right now. I mean, that's just me.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah, I kind of like the possible direction that Microsoft is going in with their systems. And this is speculation. It hasn't been confirmed, but they have talked about making it so that all systems going forward are backwards compatible or using the same platform as the previous one. So theoretically, there could be no more Xbox One. It would just be an Xbox platform, and then each revision of the system gets better and better and better, but you're still able to play the entire library.
I like that.
Well, it's more like PCs, or you buy a game on a PC, and you'll have access to playing that game on every PC that you get from here on
Hmm.
forward. You know,
Yeah, no, I
so
agree.
I'm kind of hoping that that's the path that they take. I think that's a good one. I don't like the idea of my games being obsolete.
Yeah, no.
So
And sometimes, like, you don't want to imagine yourself with, like all these old systems just to play those games. I mean, there's you know, there's a niche for that. There's like an area for, those kind of people to kind of have those collections and keep those systems. But, I think a lot of people just kind of want that one thing, that one system that they can kind of do everything with. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
totally. I mean, let's be honest. Having a collection takes up a lot of space, and
It does.
people don't necessarily have the space for it.
No, you kind of need that man office cave thing, or you need a basement, kind of one of those setups that you have. I mean, you're lucky enough to kind of have one of those rooms that's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
a office slash game room slash PC desk thing. And,
Yeah.
not everybody has that. But if you have it, great. Go ahead and put the OG Xbox in there and your 360 and your One and your One X and,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. Fine, do it. But I
And you
can,
know what? Like I'm very fortunate to have the space, but this is not that big of a room. you know, and
right.
like I'm already kind of at capacity.
Yeah, it's hard having the space, man. Like you really do have to have, like I said, a full basement
Yeah,
or just like a nice large guest room where you can really just kind of do it upright.
exactly, exactly. Any other thoughts on the E3 announcement before we move on to our next topic?
I don't think so, man. Like I said, I think we talked about it enough. I think it's kind of an unusual thing. Maybe we just need to stand by for more news, and I'm sure we'll get it. And if we don't, then, maybe we just need to have faith and there's a reason for it, and we'll find out when we get there.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly find out either way.
Yeah.
So here in the United States, we will be celebrating Thanksgiving on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And Thanksgiving is a wonderful opportunity for us to get together with families and friends and, generally speaking, just stuff our faces with as much food as possible.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's basically the American way. so
Oh, it's
um,
so American.
it really is. It really is. But, of course, we're a video game podcast. We're not a Thanksgiving podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So there's got to be a way to tie this in, right? And I started thinking about how a lot of people, they have some time off from work, from school, from whatever. They get to finally sit down and play some games. And, maybe some people have some old favorites or some old memories that they want to talk about. So
Yeah.
we did throw it out on Facebook. We got some great responses. I want to get your thoughts on this as well too, Will. But let's hit up the Facebook first.
Yeah,
Um,
so I mean, we've got Majid again, who's saying Scrabble is hands down the best family game to play. I mean, I think that he's got a great point. It's such a strong game.
Board games actually had a really strong running on this.
Yeah,
And it's something I didn't even consider when I was putting up the post, but I mean, most families will sit around a table after the dinner has been cleared
hmm
and they'll break out the board games, and Scrabble is a great one.
rightfully so.
Rightfully so, yeah. What else
David
we got?
C. David C. Says, I have fond memories of running around the world map of Final Fantasy IX on a Thanksgiving many years ago. After binging on turkey, I like to binge on RPGs. What a great statement.
It really is. The only thing that I would have problems with is just kind of getting into this loop where, um, you're just grinding out these levels, and then you start pressing the same button over and over again to kind of get through the
Oh my
the
God. Good luck
battles.
staying awake, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you're in like a really weak area, and you just keep pressing X over again, so you just hit attack, 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 and next thing you know, you're falling asleep.
Oh, dude, like you got a stomach full of turkey and pumpkin pie and all the good kind of Thanksgiving meals that, we have. It's really hard to kind of stay awake afterwards. So I don't know, is that like maybe a before game or after? I don't know, man. Like, but if Dave's doing this after, all the power to him.
Yeah.
Chris says, my fondest Thanksgiving gaming memories would have to be playing Mario Kart 64 and GoldenEye 64, wrecking the distant family that hadn't been playing nearly as much as I had. Laugh out loud. What a champion you are, Chris.
Oh, goodness.
No shame there. Just wrecking my distant family. I love that.
Well, I mean, the holidays are really meant to prove, like, who's the best, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me just murk my, like, cousins that just don't play these games. Lou Masonette says, my best memory is playing 2K basketball with my older brother. We got so angry it turned into who's better in real life. Wow. We literally shut the game off and went to the park to settle the debate. It was cold and rainy, and we also held up everyone eating dinner because of this. Wow. Wow.
Oh.
That is just true competition right there. I love that. That just reminds me of, like, the old school the old school games. Oh my God, I can't even talk.
Old school
games. But when you have those days where you like shut the game off and you actually go to settle something in real life, like people don't do that anymore.
No, it's all virtual.
Sorry is our favorite game until my kids beat me and I flip the board.
Lou, you sound like just a terrible sport.
That's one way to settle things. You know what? Fuck this. I'm flipping the thing. I'm going to get some more pumpkin pie. I'm done.
Yep.
No, I think these are great, man. I think that, like I said,
more here.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, Brad Majors. My cousin and I would always play a game where two teams were fighting against each other, only we didn't know who was on which team until the game ended. Well, my question is, were you on the opposite teams? Because then it didn't matter what team you were on.
Right, exactly.
You're going to have to figure out what game this is, Brad. Because I need to know. I need to know. You got to give me more information.
We need to know, Brad.
What's one of your favorite gaming memories for Thanksgiving?
It's a tough one, man, because I if I'm being very honest and frank here, I really don't game that much until like I get home, and that's if at all. Mm-hmm. And I think if I do, it's definitely going to be something cozy. And when I say cozy, some people don't know what I mean by this, but like I think it's kind of similar to like what Dave was talking about, like an RPG or a game like Transistor or Bastion or Journey or some kind of like cozy indie game that's not that serious and you can just kind of pick up and play and, have a 2-3 hour experience and have it be something that's just kind of nourishing and memorable and heartwarming. I think that's the kind of stuff that I want to play on Thanksgiving. I don't want to play Skyrim on Thanksgiving. It's too much. And as cozy as it can be, I'd rather play something that's kind of artsy and cutesy. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that for me, that just kind of represents something that is good for pre and post Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, it does totally make sense. I feel like a game like Skyrim or something that's deep and involved, it just really isn't in the Thanksgiving spirit. I don't know. No. You know what I mean? Like you need something that's easy to play, something that you can play for a short amount of time or a long amount of time, depending on how good you are and what your time restrictions are, and just something that you can kind of put down at any given time and not stress about it.
What about you, Drew?
I like to go with some old school stuff. I love playing like Atari 2600 games.
Oh, you bastard!
I love firing up Yar's Revenge or Asteroids, or yours was my favorite. Frogger. Oh man. And I just I get in the zone with these games. It's like muscle memory for me. I grew up with an Atari 2600.
Mm-hmm.
And I just get in this zone where I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. I'm just reacting.
Now, would you say that you're kind of like wrecking people because a lot of people aren't kind of like initiated with like what these systems are? Because I mean, it's such an old system.
Well, I mean, those particular games are more about the single player experience. Given the opportunity, where if I were playing with multiple people, it would probably be like a high score kind of situation.
Okay.
And in which case, yes, I would absolutely be wrecking everybody
in the zone.
Yeah, you just go to that happy place, and your actions just become one with the game.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it takes me a little bit to get into it. Like the last time I played Frogger, it took me a few times getting flattened before I kind of got in that mode. But yeah, man, those games, there's just something about them. They're so intuitive. They're so pick up and play, and I know they're ugly as shit. But
who cares?
You use for me, my imagination goes wild on those games because nobody's telling me what my imagination should be. Mm-hmm. I have my own vision of it. It's not so gorgeous and detailed where, it's somebody else's vision. Like I
don't know why, man. I thought about Barney the dinosaur, the PBS, the PBS show. You're like, you know what? No one can tell me what's in my imagination. No one can destroy like that. I'm imagining about things that only I can imagine about.
Listen, man. In the immortal words of Reading Rainbow, I can do anything. I can go anywhere. Take a look. It's in an Atari 2600.
Oh my God!
It's Joystick Rainbow.
God bless our childhood, man.
Oh goodness.
Without Barney, man, like your imagination wouldn't be touched.
I don't ever want to hear you use Barney and touched in the same sentence again.
Yeah, you know what? That didn't sound good.
No.
That's
any
right.
Did you ever play any family games? Like not necessarily video games, but like board games or anything like that?
Let me think here. I mean, no, man. Like I think this is just a straight no, and I think that our typical Thanksgiving just kind of involves like not weird, but like holiday music in the background, talking and just kind of watching sports and football or whatever after. It's pretty generic. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really involve a lot of games, and I think it's just because my family and my brother-in-law's family they're not really into that stuff. But I think that if we were to kind of try it, I think that board games would definitely be a start, and I think that Scrabble would be like the first game on the list, and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Scrabble is a classic. I was always a big fan of Monopoly.
Oh, what a great game!
And that is like even more so the quintessential fuck you game.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I play that game like with ruthless aggression.
Gosh, I mean, I don't think I've played that game since I was a kid. It's shameful, I know.
It is so fucking cruel. I don't know how else to put it. That game is just downright cruel.
Dude, it sounds terrible, but like I'm actually trying to think about how this game actually works. Now, it's about buying properties and
so
there's Park Place. I don't know why that just keeps coming into my mind. Is that like a thing?
Boardwalk and Park Place are like the two most famous spots on the board because they're the most expensive.
Okay.
But generally speaking, the idea is you have all these properties around the board that you can buy, and they're color coded. They're usually in pairs of either 2 or more commonly 3 of the same color. And if you have the full set of that color, then you can start building properties on it, like houses and ultimately hotels.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is if somebody's going around the board and they land on that spot, they have to pay rent to you. So eventually, somebody who doesn't have that many properties is going to go bankrupt, to be eliminated from the game.
Turns into like a fuck you, pay me kind of situation.
Yes. And
Love it.
The reason it turns into the fuck you, pay me situation is because everybody and their neighbor has their own set of house rules.
Mm-hmm.
And I admit to playing with house rules as well too. Everybody has their own spin on it, their own variation, probably because somebody was a whiny bitch at one point or another.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the like actual strict Monopoly rules, they're very, very direct, very straightforward, and there is no kindness to the game. It's just your goal is to win.
I feel like that's always been a thing, right? Like with board games, like there's always that one person that's like, well, that's not how I used to play it. Like there's
Yes.
always like that one person that wants to break the rules, and there's always that one person that takes out the manual and is like, you know what? I'm going to tell you how this game is played.
Yes, that's exactly what happens.
Right? Like it's a thing. It's a real thing.
It is. And I think because of the age of Monopoly, how long it's actually been around, because the game's been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if not 100 years, damn close.
Milton Bradley.
Well, even before Milton Bradley, because they bought the game off of somebody.
Or was it Parker Brothers?
Now you're making me Google this shit again.
What the fuck am I even saying? Like, are these like, is this like a brand? Are like these real people? I'm just spouting off like weird, leftover, dusty board game knowledge.
Pretty much.
That's like in the attic of my brain.
So Hasbro currently owns the game.
All right.
It was published in 1935.
Oh my gosh.
But Parker Brothers was the first company to publish the game.
So we were not even a thought at that point.
Well, I have an edition of the game that is a Parker Brothers version. My parents had it, so I don't know when they bought it. But Hasbro didn't buy the company, the game until 91. They acquired Parker Brothers and purchased Monopoly as part of the purchase.
So you would say at this point that Monopoly is kind of your Thanksgiving family game?
Yeah, my parents and I would play that a lot of times. We didn't really have like a large family when I was growing up, so it was usually just like my parents, my grandparents. If my cousins were down from New Hampshire, maybe we'd see them. But we also did a lot of traveling between both sides of the family as well too.
Yeah.
So we would usually visit one spot, hang out there for a while, have a little bit to eat, and then go to the other spot where we would usually wind down the night.
Mm-hmm.
So if we ended up at my mother's parents, there was some crazy board games in there. I think Monopoly was one of them. I know we used to play Monopoly at my parents' house on holidays if we weren't going anywhere.
So when it comes to like a video game, I don't know if you mentioned, Drew, is there kind of one, specific game, or is there anything besides like the Atari that you would kind of play that's a little bit more modern, or no?
Well, I mean, this Thanksgiving, I'll probably fire up Tetris Effect.
That sounds like a good title.
We'll be coming home from Long Island, so after a long drive, that seems like a really great game to just unwind to.
Yeah, might perk you up a little bit too.
Yeah, well, yeah, too.
Break you out of the coma.
Get some flashy lights going on. Maybe grab a bottle of scotch and a glass of a couple of ice cubes.
Oof, you're brave, my friend.
Yeah, well,
you're a brave man.
I have my vices.
Everyone does.
But yeah, I mean, that game has been a lot of fun. Or maybe I'll fire up Slime Rancher, just to unwind.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this game, man.
Slime Rancher?
Am. Yeah.
Check it out.
I just gotta do that payment plan through Best Buy on that Dyson, and then I'm good to go.
There you go. You know what? Why even bother buying the game? Just raise your own.
Yeah.
We'll find
get some like Nickelodeon gack and just suck it up. Dyson.
It is available on Steam for $20. I don't know if you do any Steam gaming.
Oh my god, I used to. I think that you and I have talked about this. Like
there's robots that I can purchase that will automate everything for me.
The never-ending nightmare of the Steam collection sales.
I'm watching a video on the Steam page right now for the robots. I want these robots. How do I get them? Give them to me. They're doing all the work.
Is it like a DLC thing, or
it might be? I think it is. I don't know. But they have how they have like the old timey robots that you could wind up. They had like the key that you'd put into their backs. These things these things are flying around with that key in their head. It's very cute.
That's interesting.
Very cute. Anyway.
Yeah, what do we have left to talk about here?
That's it. That's it. We're done.
Wow. Are we done?
We're
okay,
done.
so we talked about Thanksgiving. We talked about some of these games that people have been playing and their memories, and I think that is great. I mean, I think, man, gosh, I could talk about GoldenEye 64 for like 4 hours. We don't have time for that, though.
We do not. That is also a podcast for another podcast.
It is.
So, well, we are out of time for today, so we'll start wrapping things up. Folks, if you can, please make sure you are subscribing to us on your favorite podcast application, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio. Be kind. Leave us a 5-star review. You can tell us to fuck off in the review, but just please leave a 5-star review. It makes a huge difference. Be sure to follow us on all forms of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at WDGR Podcast. That's the best way to find us. If you want to yell at Will, how can they find you on Twitter and Instagram?
Sure. So you can find me at Will_gear on pretty much everything.
You can find me at Scion Storm, not Poison Storm, Scion Storm, on Instagram and Twitter as well, too.
He'll never live that down.
I've been hearing
as long as I'm here.
I have been hearing that one for years. Dude,
it'll always be Poison Storm in my heart, bro.
Dude, when I can't even tell you how many times I've done multiplayer games and somebody be like, "Hey, Poison, come here, Poison."
Oh my God. So it's not just me.
Serious. Vic has heard it when we used to play Gears. People used to do it all the time. Completely unintentionally.
Oh, I would have never thought Scion.
Yeah.
I think people want to see a Y, you know?
Yeah. Well, America Online had a 10-character limit, so that's what you get.
Oh, Jesus.
That's how old that name is.
Yeah.
So, again, everybody, thank you so much for downloading the show. We love hearing from you guys, so be sure to chime in on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you like, what you want to hear. If you have any thoughts on any of the topics we discussed today, let us know. And thank you so much for downloading. We'll see you next week.
Yes, thank you. We'll see you guys soon.